Hey, Gabriel Blake.
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
Where are we today?
We are still in our apartments. Pandemic's still happening, not vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are.
Yeah, nothing has changed.
No.
Nothing will ever change.
What is this? Like 100?
The what? No. We're not making the same mistake as we did last time with episode 50. No, this is episode 89.
So out of 89 episodes, what? Like 7 were at bars?
Yeah, I was checking the other day. I was talking with someone randomly about like, yeah, we had this podcast. Like, what is it called? He said, yeah, it's called Gaybros Go to Dive Bar to talk about cinema. Oh, but wait. He said, yeah, that only worked for 4 episodes.
How could we have known that a pandemic would ruin our podcast name?
Yeah. I mean, I also have the feeling that we lost the chance of changing our name.
Yeah.
There is like at this point, it feels just a bit weird, about like just going and saying like, yeah, this is no longer Gabriel's Go to Dive Bars, because eventually, what we're doing here is we're holding hope. We are just basically the last bastion of hope with this pandemic. Is like we hope that dive bars will be back and we will be there to talk about cinema.
We will at every dive bar we can find.
Yep, and the audio quality will suck again. And those 4 people that listen to this podcast are going to be like, "Fuck you guys! What are you doing?" Yep, we're done. This is what crosses the line. Not that you guys don't make any kind of sense. It's about having background noise. So, what did we watch this time?
We watched the 2015, I think, right? 2015
Yep.
Perfectly realized film, 45 years.
And
that's a quote from the New York Times.
Oh, okay. Then I shouldn't laugh. I should be like just taking my hat off, just doing like a rapper. It's like, okay, New York Times. And this was your pick. Why did you pick this? Tell me, why did you pick a Blake movie as your pick?
I don't know if you picked up on this in the last 8 years, but my favorite type of film is upper middle class to upper class people who have everything that they should need to be happy, but for some reason they just aren't.
Is it?
It is. That's my type. I should have told you this about me before now, but I have a type and that's what it is.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Yeah. No, now that you mention it, between the ice storm, little children, this celebration also. Yeah, I just start seeing a pattern. Yeah. Huh.
In fact, the only complaint I had about the touring horse was that they were poor.
If they were like middle high class, this would have been completely different.
It would have been perfect.
Well, but the touring horse was a bit more like the story about like when things are worse and you are poor and you don't have any kind of way out, they can still go worse until light goes away.
So I saw this movie in theaters when it came out in 2015 with my husband. I was blown away by it. I've wanted you to see it for a while. This is directed by the guy that I can't think of his name, Andrewy Haigh, who did Weekend, which every gay man has seen in the entire world because it's like the one good gay movie besides Brokeback Mountain that's come out.
I don't know, man. I don't know. So, is this director gay?
Yes, very gay.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Like, gay's not a spectrum. Yes, he likes men.
That's what I'm asking. I'm not asking about like how gay he is. He was also the director of Looking. So, with Weekend, I may need to watch it again. I don't recall it like something to write home about, and it's not that I write home about movies. But I remember seeing that.
You tell your parents to see movies.
Yeah, but not about gay movies. It's like they don't ask me. It's like, hey, Jose, we want to watch a gay movie. Can you recommend us one? And if they did, it's like probably I would go with Girls on Country.
Oh yeah. Okay, I take it back. Weekend is one of 3 good gay movies to come out.
But yeah, Girls on Country, and it's true that you can see there's some parallels between Brokeback Mountain and Girls on Country. But Girls on Country it was like post homophobic that I found like pretty interesting.
The subject had to be like them hating themselves and being like discriminated against.
Yeah, it was not about that. It was about like just a romance of two people that they were not completely prepared for just loving each other, and one of them was super hot.
He was.
Like the guy with the beard. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, in any case, we're not talking about gay movies this time. We're talking about 45 years. And as this was your pick, I guess that I had to summarize it. So the story is about this couple that they have been married for 45 years, and they're going to be celebrating the 40-year anniversary of their wedding date. So the story takes 45th, not 45. 45th anniversary of their wedding day.
Oh, I thought you said 40th. Sorry.
No. 45, I think that's it. It doesn't matter. Yeah, I have been already corrected. We cannot go back. So basically, the story takes place over a single week. From Monday to Saturday, when the Saturday is the celebration. And what throws the whole marriage upside down, because it almost feels once again is that this is a Blake movie from the Blake genre, is that there has to be like an event that triggers the whole unhappiness, it becomes like obvious, as like in this case the husband receives a letter in German, I think that it is, just talking about, hey, we found your dead wife, that it has been frozen for all this time in an iceberg in Switzerland. So he started like just narrating, telling the wife about this woman that he used to date before they met together, and they went on a hiking trip in Switzerland, and she fell to her death. During that time, I'm going to be like just skipping like many steps, so we can just go into the specifics. But during that time, clearly he hasn't forgotten about her, and he has like still like plenty of memorabilia about her, that he still just enjoys like just smelling her perfume, just looking at pictures of the trips that they did together, all that kind of stuff. And then the wife realizes or calls him out that he thinks that she was never enough for him, but she still wants to go through the trip, through the celebration that Saturday, because it's fine that he thinks that, but people shouldn't know that.
I would disagree. She's completely and utterly devastated, but the idea of all of their close friends, their entire little village, understanding this is so horrific to her. She's like, we're going to go through this party and pretend everything is fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I'm saying is like she's fine with that. Is that she's okay with accepting that fact, but she cannot accept the fact of people knowing about it. Yeah. So the next morning, on Saturday morning, when they're going to have the celebration, is like the perfect day. Is that the husband is like just the perfect husband, like just trying to be attentive, like just trying to be a bit more a husband in love with his wife. During I'm curious about like, how you feel about this final scene, is that the husband gives a speech that is the most generic speech that you could expect from a couple that have been married for 45 years about like, I convinced this woman to marry me and she's still married to me, I love her, and she cries down, and we can see that she's still like just keeping like composure about like, I'm going to be smiling, I'm going to be like nodding with my head, but she doesn't get like too emotional. They do like the first dance, and there is this point where he raises her hand up, and it's like, she's like, yeah, and that just pulls down, and you can see how he's happy celebrating, and the wife is like breaking down, like just looking left and right and just feeling like the pain that is starting to settle down.
And she starts to cry.
Yep. Yeah, as the husband cried when he was saying I'm in love with her, is that she cries when she realized that it's like, that's not true, or I'm not in love with him. Because I think that's the point that I think, that is, I see the husband, we see him like just being not really like a complete asshole, but almost like taking her for granted.
Tell me more, because that's an interesting perspective.
Well, I mean, it's the kind of person, the husband, I don't know, they have such a weird relationship. And this is like the main kind of problem that I have with this movie, and I think that I pinged you yesterday. There is this scene when that from a cinematography perspective is my favorite of the whole movie. That is when she goes to the attic and she finds like the slideshow pictures, start like just checking them, like the slideshow pictures of the husband on the trip with the ex-girlfriend or the girlfriend, I don't know exactly how to call it. And you can see how affected she is during the time, and it's clear that he has been doing that for a while. That is not something, he has like the whole setup, with the slideshow machine, the carousel, and it's like, but the problem that I have with the movie is that even at that point when I ping you, it's like, what is this? Is that for me, I didn't really connect to them. It felt like a couple that is like, I don't get it. It almost felt, and I'm going to be like saying this now, I'm sorry, it felt like an inferior Amor.
Oh, you're a piece of shit.
I may be, but it's like, I honestly, with Amor, the impact, like the build up towards where they're going, it was more impactful. Like in this case, I couldn't see, like, are these like intellectual people? I guess like,
kind of. I mean, he's reading Kierkegaard, and they like discuss like lots of. They're clearly well read. She is educated. He's a factory worker, but they've lived an excellent middle class lifestyle and are comfortable in their old age.
And they never had kids.
Yeah. They never had kids. So I agree with almost everything you said, except there's a couple things I would add to. You said that, well, first off, yes, he had the memorabilia from their relationship. And he did tell her at some point that he had a woman named Katya. And there's no, I mean, Katya, Kate, we get it. Like, Kate is the new wife, Katya is the old wife.
Well, he was never married to the previous one. He only lied about being married to her.
Yeah. But they were in a very serious relationship.
Yeah.
I don't think that he was constantly through 45 years looking at like the slideshow in the attic. I think that he held on to those things, not because he took Kate for granted, but because Katya was the love of his life. And what choice does he have to do after the love of his life dies? You go and you find someone else to be happy with. And I think they had 45 years of happy marriage. And that's why this event, him getting this letter from Switzerland saying, hey, your wife is perfectly preserved at the bottom of this iceberg that is now melting. So come or whatever.
Yeah. And that's the part, is like, I wasn't completely sure until towards the end. It's like, is this like the wife getting a jealousy fit from a dead ex-girlfriend, from a dead ex-wife or whatever? I just feel
Well, that's what I actually found interesting, because you see these. He's genuinely upset. He's very affected by this news, and we start to wonder why. And that's where I came to the conclusion that Katya was the love of his life. It's not any problem with Jeff that he moved on and found somebody to be happy with.
Yeah.
But the fact that 45 years of marriage can be turned upside down so quickly, and you see the characters when they're starting to try and deal with it, they turn to these platitudes where she's like, well, how can I be upset about something that happened before we even met? And it's true. Rationally, she couldn't be upset. And rationally, he should be over this woman 45 years later. But it doesn't matter. This thing popped up and completely changed both of their perspectives on the last 45 years.
Yeah, but that's the part that I felt, I don't know, that is okay, true. Sometimes something may happen that it changes things. Like for example, you are like thrown into a situation that you never had before. Like for example, in Amor, that one of them just have like degenerative Alzheimer's, and it just goes out of control like super fast. And the husband has to deal with that. That's a serious situation that it can just turn upside down, like a loving relationship with two very educated people. And Isabel Huppert is your daughter. So clearly you were like just set up for disaster. Let's just be honest.
Anytime she's nearby, I mean,
exactly, nothing good is going to happen there. But in this case, I just felt it's like that's fairly small. Are you telling me if this is like a jealousy fit from her? That is, I'm going to be like reviewing these 45 years, and I'm going to think you were only with me as a proxy of being with her.
But I don't think that she was a proxy. I see it as like they're both. It's a tragic situation, and it's nobody's fault. I think, and this is my interpretation, Katya was the love of his life. It's not a problem that he went on to date somebody, but you cannot blame Kate after 45 years of thinking she was the love of his life to watch him be so affected by this. And he's clearly devastated. His entire personality changes. All of his friends are talking about it. He's drinking and he's avoiding his friends that he loves spending time with. He's vomiting on the side of the road. He's deeply affected by this. And she realizes, I don't hold the same place in his heart that he has held in mine. That's devastating. And I feel like that is a logical experience that could happen. And I will say, so I watched this on the Criterion channel, and they actually have a documentary about the making of the film. And it's very charming to hear about how both of the main actors, one is Charlotte Rampling, whom I adore. They both say how they read the script and it was just so powerful that they wanted to do it. And a lot of people wanted to pigeonhole the director into making gay films. And he was like, I don't think you have to experience, you don't have to engage in a story just because it's something you've experienced or you know. People have big emotions regardless of their age or whether they're straight or gay, and he felt he really wanted to tell the story of an older person who's having a
revelation,
a completely existential crisis later in life. And he said those films are never told from the woman's point of view because I think society says they're not supposed to have them. And so we see this film through Kate's experience. And maybe it's just who I am as a person, but I could empathize with everything she felt. Yes, she knew it was irrational to be upset about something that happened before she met her husband. But yes, it's devastating to see that you don't occupy the space in the heart of the person that you thought you did.
Well, okay. True. It's like I didn't see that documentary, and I agree that has to be the point, from that perspective. But from my perspective, it was so, because maybe I'm a bit more of a logical kind of person. It's like, when she says, is that, oh, I know that I shouldn't be jealous about something that happened before we met, especially about a person that is dead. But it's like, as someone that went through losing someone close to me, is that that's not going to be replaced. It's like that person is always going to be in the back of my mind, and it's not about if I think about that person, when the anniversary of his loss comes around, that doesn't mean that I haven't enjoyed 45 years of experience, especially when you tell me that you don't think that he has been doing this, about just going to the attic and just seeing the pictures, smelling the perfume, It feels like it's a bit more of an overreaction more than anything else.
So so I'll say that both of the actors are just mind-blowingly good, incredible. There's this amazing scene where she says that everything in their lives she now sees as tainted by this woman. And in that, but listen, I was blown away by when she goes up into the attic and she sees that he's been watching the slideshow, and she understands how much that he has lied to her by omission about this relationship. He has told almost nothing. And then she goes and sees the slideshows, and it's just constant pictures of Katya pregnant. And she goes down and confronts him, and she's like, I can't even tell you all the things I know because I can't deal with it right now. She's clearly resentful that he didn't want children when he wanted it with Katya. And so when she's saying every decision we've made is now tainted by this thing that you hid from me, that's I don't blame him, but you cannot say that he was not deceptive and it changed the way she saw the choices they made together.
But it's not the choices that they made. I mean, we don't know exactly what point they decided they didn't want to have kids. But probably he made that choice by himself. Is that that's basically like just going into a relationship and saying that is like, look, I don't want to have kids. That's my relation. That's my decision. Is that you can just accept it or just look for someone else. I said, then you cannot go like 45 years later and say that, hey, you made this call because of something that you did before. It doesn't matter what I did it for. I told you what I wanted and what I wanted.
Completely agree. But once you see the motivations behind that, and I agree with you that we didn't see everything that actually happened in their life. This takes place over 6 days. We see it almost exclusively from Kate's point of view. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is you can see how this one thing could change how you see 45 years of a relationship.
Honestly, not. Honestly, freaking not. I mean, I'm really sorry, but it's like there are people that they're like more reserved, and there are people that they are more open. It's like clearly the husband was more reserved, and he told him that is that I had a girlfriend before I met you. Is that we were not married. That part is true, and she died, and that part is also true. Is that then everything else feels like okay. It's true that I can see the point is that we want to make like this kind of existential crisis, but for me it was like you are making an existential crisis out of nothing. 45 years is a freaking life.
But is reality what's important in the story? I don't think it is. I think what's important is we see this kind of emotional journey that Kate goes on, and I guess it comes down to whether or not you can empathize with her.
Yeah.
And I could empathize with her trying to be rational and being like, yeah, I can't get upset. This is absurd. But then constantly like being like, did he not want to have kids with me because his baby died on that iceberg? Like you can see all of these questions that would pop up regardless of what actually happened. But you can't like understand her.
But what is, okay, sure. I give you that. It's like, okay, the character has the right to be irrational. And just the character being irrational doesn't make better or worse the film, but it actually just takes me out of it. It's like for me is that there is no logic to her actions.
But wouldn't being able to understand and empathize with her pull you into the film?
But at the same time, what I'm saying is like I cannot emphasize because it's not believable for me. Is that when I was actually just connecting to that point, is that seriously? I mean, we're not talking about like she's alive and she's having the kid somewhere else. Like it's been like just sending money. There is no like a living lie. It's that you are like just insecure after 45 years of marriage that everything comes to it. Because I don't think that it's illegal or it's wrong that the guy is being like really affected by this. And he kept like some of the memories of this person. Because that's himself. That's like part of his identity. What it actually just feels a bit, especially when you tell me that this is about like her perspective. For me, her perspective is completely rational. It's like it's not that the guy is being like a complete asshole or anything like that. Because when he actually calls him out and it's like, look, you're making me feel now. It's like you're taking me as a what was the word that he uses that I forgot about it? I was not enough.
Yeah.
For you. I was not enough for you. Is like he was 45 years with you. I don't get it. Did you tell me that he never made you happy? That doesn't sound like it.
So I completely see what you're saying. The film worked for me in the ways that it didn't work for you.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this kind of like side plot line where because of everything that's happening, she's talking to, is it her friend? I didn't quite understand. Yeah. And she's like, should I even have a party? I don't like parties. And her friend is like, you have to have this party because even though your husband won't want it, he's going to get up and give a speech and he's going to cry. And you're going to feel so much love. And he gives this long, ridiculous, rambling speech that doesn't seem very sincere at all.
Yep.
And then at the end, he cries a little bit. Did you question or not whether he was crying because he was happy with Kate, or was there an inkling that you thought he was crying about Katya?
No. Well, I mean, it's true that the speech, how he said it, is like, we make many calls, especially when we are younger, and these ones that they actually have like consequences years later. I thought that even at the point, is this going to be just saying, now that's the reason why I want a divorce? I was thinking, is this what is going? It's like, is this really what is like the build up of everything? I know the build up is like when he actually raises her hand and like, nope, I'm out.
So you never thought for a chance he could just be talking about Katya, and he could be crying about Katya. So okay, perfect. For me, I was like, yeah, I don't know that I believe him. I don't believe that he's not crying over Katya because he just discovered this.
No, because it's true that they say that for the 40 years, they didn't do a party because he was sick, I think.
He had a bypass surgery over their 40th.
Oh, gotcha. It was the surgery, yeah. But they had it on the 35. I think that they had it like every 5 years. So they said that is the last time that they had it. So I think that probably this always happens. That he stands up, he gives a speech, he cries, and then just move on. Because they even mentioned something along those lines about like, this is not about us, this is about like just making our husbands cry. And she jokes about like, so this is a party about like just making them suffer?
And she says no, it's about like making them show love that they hide all the other times.
Yep.
I see what you say. For me, all the reasons it didn't work for you are the reasons it worked for me. And
because
actually,
she tainted you. She tainted you. And it made you just look at everything from the career perspective.
Well, right before we started recording, we were talking about our relationships, right? And we talked about how I'm more insecure and you're more secure, right? So the fact that I identify with Kate is not surprising, whereas I feel like you're like, okay, relax. I've shown you for 45 years I love you. What more do you need? I get it. I just feel like I could completely empathize with this character. I feel like she was so strongly written. Charlotte Rampling, is she ever in a movie where she doesn't steal the show?
I think that I was checking her movies, maybe in Red Sparrow. I don't know if anyone stole the show on that one, but she was in Sardos.
Melancholia? She blew the first act of that film away. She just completely stole the show.
In which one?
Melancholia by Lars von Trier.
Oh, yeah. I was checking it yesterday. Yeah, she was there and she was amazing. But she was also in Sardos. That is like a movie that I will make you watch one of these days with Sean Connery. The one that he's like just wearing like a harness all the time.
Wait, Stardust? Isn't that the one with Michelle Pfeiffer?
No. Sardos.
Oh,
Sardo said. And I'm going to be like sending you a picture because as someone that likes Sean Connery is that this is like the most homoerotic and at the same time wrong kind of thing that I ever seen in my life. But yeah, she was on that movie like very, very, very young.
Oh, she was fantastic in Never Let Me Go.
Yeah, but she's good. But the thing is, like, it's interesting when you check what she did. You know, when you check on IMDb, it's like, yeah, it's a bit of a weird collection, you know? She was in Assassin's Creed in 2016.
She seems a little bit like James Franco, like 1 for me, 5 for them.
Maybe, I don't know, it's just weird because it's true that she's talented. Because when I saw her, it's like, oh yeah, I really like her. And then I was going to be like just checking the movies that she was in. It's like, why do I like her?
Okay, so I think the fact that we disagree about the characters is fine. What did you think about the direction of the film?
It was pretty good. I mean, I tell you, and I want to share with you, like the scene where she's just checking the slides, the pictures. That was amazing, how well it was directed. And something that they do and that I really like is that most movies, when they turn off the light, is that you still see them. It's a bit more like, no, there is light from outside, so you can still see them. In this one, it's extremely dark.
It's like extremely dark, and the camera's looking at her, but the camera is also behind the projector screen, so you're seeing behind and her.
Yeah.
It's just like, are you a pale reflection of this pure love that he?
That is
so good.
That is seeing it say like, okay, this one was amazingly shot. And seeing like those fragments of 3 seconds that he's looking at the pictures, and then 1 second of darkness, you know, and just seeing how the expression like transforms over and over, and the grades is that's perfect. That's for me is like the highlight of the cinema, of this movie.
Yeah.
Those 5 minutes.
For me, I will say, I know I'm very enthusiastic right after I've seen a film, But I walked out of that movie theater and I said, that's a perfect movie. And I feel pretty close to that right now. Like that final scene on the dance floor, it's incredible.
No, it's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that I was like a bit surprised is that we see do we know what Kate used to do before retiring?
Yeah, she talks to a former student. She talks about...
Yeah, she's a teacher. That's right. Yeah. But do we know what she was like a college student or something?
She said the third reform. I don't know what that is exactly in British language.
Yeah. British language, that's English.
She was teaching about the bogmen in Denmark, like the bodies they found in the bogs that like hundreds of years ago they dumped in there, so they're perfectly preserved. Yeah. So I would guess it's like junior high school in terms of American schooling.
Yeah, that's what it sounds, because also when he talks with the neighbor that he just had twins, and he was a student, it's like it looks like they have known each other since he was kids. It's not about like, oh yeah, I met you when you were 22 and now you're 25, you had twins. How time has flown. He said, yeah, it's 3 years.
And then I never caught what he did in the film, but when I read a synopsis on IMDb, it said he was a factory worker. I don't remember that, but...
Yeah, when he goes to the party, after he leaves the party, you know that they're like next to the factory, and when they are in the car, it's like he says like, when I started, all the work, so the position that I used to have when I started is no longer there because it was automated in the factory.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's right.
That's the only reference that I had to exactly what he did. I mean, that's the reason what I feel is like, they don't feel like high, like a high class, let's say. They feel like a middle class that they retire, but no super rich that is on the countryside.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I like to read New York Times movie reviews.
Yeah, I heard about it.
They spoke about a little bit how they're supposed to kind of be like the beneficiaries of the post-war rebuild of the UK. And so they're supposed to be basically perfectly middle class. They work their whole lives and are able to retire comfortably, not like extravagantly. I think they're just supposed to be like middle class, upper middle class.
Yeah, but it's not about like they're going to be like traveling every single year. They talk about a bit about like travels that they did in the past, and they even have like
local, like Scotland, Italy. It's not like they went to.
Oh no, they went to Egypt. Because at the end, when they have the collage with the pictures, I think that it says like, oh, this is from Egypt, from where we went to Egypt. But it's like it's not that far. It's not that they actually did like a trip around the globe. But yeah, I couldn't completely connect with them. I don't know if I was like just missing a bit more of exposition or something, or like the build up was too slow for me. And then when it was like just starting to pay off, I was feeling like, this is irrational. It's like, woman, you are like just being irrational here. I'm sorry.
So let's say you were in the situation and you find out 45 years into the marriage that your husband, your spouse, withheld this much, that he was the father of a child that died on an iceberg, and he's only just kind of casually, and 45 years later, he doesn't just say, hey, I was in a relationship with this woman named Katya. He refers to her as my Katya, which is extremely affectionate. It's not just like, oh, I had this girl I knew once. It's, hey, this is the person. This is my person.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that person probably would call me also my Jose.
Okay, so it wouldn't affect you.
No, I mean the kind of person that I am is that probably I would try to console them. Like, I'm really sorry that you had to go like through this closure like so long after it happened. I'm just here. I'm going to be like letting you just digest it in your way.
But you wouldn't be a little disconcerted that they didn't share that they fathered a child?
Well, the thing is, like, she was pregnant and she fell through a cliff. It's not about like the kid fell.
But there's pictures of her holding her belly with him in Switzerland. It's
Sure.
not like he's disconnected from this. And she asked him, would you have married? And he was like, absolutely, we would have married instantly.
Yeah, I mean, he actually pointed like just against the wall. Is like was that the plan? And that's like just a question that you're only asking for just hurting yourself, because you're putting him against the wall about like, would you have married? Is like, yeah, in all honesty, yeah. I mean, they were like just dating and things were great. He said, of course. He said, why do you need that information? If he says no, you're going to be like feeling like he's lying to me. And if he says yes, you're going to be devastated.
I agree, but I would feel like my partner, the only person that I share everything with, held something back like this and is keeping keepsakes in the attic. I would be like, what the hell, man?
Okay, I have keepsakes from Paul in my closet. I don't tell people that I dated that I have keepsakes from him there. I don't.
You don't tell your partner about Paul?
To my ex, I mean, I talking after a while, but it's like I didn't give it like too much importance. You know, it's a bit more like, because that's my memories. That's my memories. If he was to say about like, hey, what is this? I would like just telling him, but it's like, just in a proactive kind of manner, I feel it's like, does it matter? Honestly? I mean, we have memories from other people.
But it matters to me that this is something clear. So I'm putting myself into Kate's position. This is something that affects him and has affected him so much his entire life, and he has never shared it with her. That says something about how much his intimacy with her. He doesn't trust her with the most deeply painful and personal memories of his life.
Well, let's just take a step back here. Is that he didn't know anything about her for almost 50 years. Because I think that it was like just several years before he met Kate, no? I was like, at that point, what you do as a human being for just being able to move forward in something especially that it was not completely close, you know, that you don't know if maybe she survived after falling through the cliff. You don't. No, they never found her.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah, you just move on. It's like you just decide to actually just bury that in the back of your mind.
And there's a conversation where she was like, it's really weird you never told me any of this. And he was like, look, do you tell this horribly tragic story that you were traveling with your girlfriend, lying, saying you were married, so you sleep in strangers' houses? Do you tell that to your beautiful new girlfriend? No, you don't tell that to your beautiful new girlfriend, but that's something you tell when you become intimate emotionally with somebody. And he never did that with her.
But once again, is that whatever way he had to deal with the pain of that situation, it's up to him. It's that he was coping with it. It's that, and that's the thing, is like it shouldn't be about her. It's about him and how he actually just dealt with this. And she makes it about her.
She does make it about her. But again, we're going in circles at this point. I empathize with her. I would feel betrayed if the partner that I tell everything to never said, hey, I fathered a child and I'm really sad about it. That's weird to me.
Okay, look, this is not something, once again, is that she's not going to be like coming back. She fell off a cliff and it's been like 45 years. She's probably not coming back. So from the perspective that you move on, he kept those mementos, those keepsakes. It's like, maybe if I was in that circumstance, I would be like reacting a different way. But for me, what I was seeing, this is like, no, don't be that selfish bitch. Don't be that selfish bitch. It makes no sense. And it's like, besides that, is that when you're like just displaying this character that is so grounded, so, you know, like supposedly when he talks with her friend Lena or whatever it was called, they have like this very, not, I wouldn't say like sophisticated, but she's like a very calm and logical person. And it's like, and then you go into this extremely emotional situation for something that is not about you. And instead of actually just being able to say that, look, this is how the situation makes me feel. You know, she actually goes into, is like, clearly I haven't been enough for you.
No, that's a bit of an exaggeration. She spent many nights in their bed saying, tell me about it, talk to me about it.
No,
did a lot. No,
no. Wait, no. I'm saying that it's like, yes, she did that, but also when she asked, and it's like going back to the question that you were bringing up, it's like, would you have married her if you guys had gotten to Italy? And he said like, yes. He's like, I don't want to talk about her ever again.
But isn't that after she found out that she was pregnant and he had never told her?
No, I think that was like the following day when she goes to the attic. That is like this during the night, then is the following day, and then he confronts her because he went to the city or something like that, and then she receives the call about like, okay, what music do you want? He's like, please just die, leave me alone. So
well, I mean, clearly we
honestly,
no, please go ahead.
what I was going to say is that, but I don't think that it's a bad movie. It's like that I couldn't connect with the characters. That I felt a bit more. It's like, it's like I recognize that that's a bit more on me, on the kind of person that is like I like people to be logical and a bit more like congruent. And I felt like on this case she wasn't, and the problem is that she is the center point of the story.
Yeah, we have to see everything through her view. What I do find interesting is that we see this film in an extremely chronological order. It's like, I mean, there are title cards. It's like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yet the way that they played with time, both in, hey, what happened 45 years ago? Why is it affecting the present? And what's going to happen in the future? I found that to be incredible. And I think the director wrote the script. I'll check. But the reason he decided to direct this is because it's a short story apparently that's like 12, 13 pages, and he read it and he was like, I need to make this into a movie. So I haven't read the short story, but I think the way he managed to play with time and how events in the past and events that might happen in the future, I thought it was very, very interesting. I think this is a guy who's a director to watch, having watched this twice and Weekend once. I think regardless, he's a very, very interesting and talented storyteller.
Did you watch League on Pete?
No, and I didn't even know about its existence until I watched like 10 minutes of that documentary, and then I had to stop. So
yeah, I watched like plenty of trailers. I think that this was one of the movies that they had like a trailer on the Opera Plaza that it was like just running for 6 months. They say, didn't this movie come out? And it's like, nope, they just announced it that year before it was released.
I would be interested in watching it. I mean, from what I saw from the trailer, it's not my type of film, but I'll admit Weekend was good, and I think that 45 Years is great.
So he had only 4 movies. Let's just not count Looking, the TV movie. But he did a Greek Pete, Weekend, 45 Years, and League on Pete.
What was the last one?
League on Pete. The first one was Greek Pete, and the last one was League on Pete.
Greek Pete is the one that I learned of today. I haven't heard of his most recent film.
And gotcha. Yeah, that's from 2009. He's a rent boy. I agree with you. I would be interested in maybe even watching Weekend again. I'm going to be adding Weekend to the list of movies.
The Godard film, right? You're talking about the Godard film.
Yeah, exactly that one. No, I'm talking about I'm talking about Le Weekend, like the pop band that they play at the Super Bowl. I think they have a documentary about them. I want to watch that. Yeah. So should we go over the questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Would you watch this again?
I would watch it again tomorrow. Honest to God. Oh, so good. So good.
For me, it's like, maybe. I wouldn't go like out of my way for watching it again. It's like, if he's playing there, sure, I will watch it. Would you recommend it?
Mm-hmm. I recommended it to you, and I hold your film opinion higher than anybody else I know.
Well, but I don't think that we should say that it's like forcing each other watching a movie is recommending it. I force you to watch Celine Dion Goes Boring.
There are times when we're forcing each other, and there are times when it's like, hey, I love this film. I want you to love it too. There's a difference between the two. And I recommended this film to you. I recommended it to my husband. Yeah, I would recommend it. Okay,
no, that's fair. I think that I would recommend it. I would be curious to recommend it to my parents, actually.
You should do that and follow up in the next podcast.
I think that I would even like just watch it with them.
Interesting. I wonder So the characters are supposed to be about 70 and 75. Just give someone who hasn't seen it a perspective. Yeah. So it's definitely like end of life, which is, yeah.
Well, I'd rather not think about. It's true that it's end of life, but I'd rather not call it like that. When my parents are, on that age range, it's like.
Well, that's why I hesitated when you're like, "Hey, parents, watch this. You too can have a crisis right before."
No, I'm not talking about that, but it's like I would be curious about like, would you give that importance to something like that? From a couple that they were like 45 years together, because my parents have been 47 years, I think, together.
Now you make me want to make my grandma watch this.
I don't know, man. I mean, I'm just curious, from the perspective of someone, because for me, it's not rational. It's like if you have been for 45 years, you have gone through very, very tough stuff.
So you would recommend it. Can you think of a mutual acquaintance or friend that you would recommend it to?
What you're asking me, just in case if I would recommend it to Edwin?
No. I was asking, like, of all the kind of like guys our age in this city, do you know someone that you would think would find this film interesting? Is what I was asking.
Probably not. I mean, the thing I'm going to say something is that this is a Blake movie.
It is.
It's from the Blake genre. It's like this is the movie that is like if I were to watch, it's like you're going to love this. I would be like just going right away. It's like I know that, for example, with a Ghost Story, for me was like this is the overlap in between like what I like and what he likes, and it's like we're both going to be like just creaming our pants about it, But with this one, it's like I will watch it. It's like I will leave the cinema. It's like Blake would like it, But it's like if anyone else would like it, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm trying to think, and it's like I cannot think, like just being at the Eagle, when it reopens, hopefully one day. And just talking randomly with cinema with someone and just say that, what movie you should watch? 45 years.
The Eagle is not a place to talk about films. The Eagle is a place to go to watch guys in assless chaps. So I just want to say, it's not like...
Look, one thing is not against the other. You can talk about cinema with assless chaps. They are not mindless bimbos, okay? They are not Jessica Chastain. Let's just leave this clear.
You are crossing.
I'm sorry, Jessica Chastain, if you're listening to this, But we talk with people about cinema at the Eagle.
I can't recall a specific conversation, but I guarantee you it wasn't about the Turin horse.
No, but what I'm saying, I'm not talking about like we talk about good cinema with people. I'm talking like we talk about cinema.
That's
the one stuff,
We have a Dutch friend that's there that loves to talk.
Do we have a what?
A Dutch friend.
Oh my God. Let's just leave it there. I don't know who I would recommend it to. To people around our age, I think, once again, this is a similar situation to the Ice Storm, that is like from the Blake genre. I think that they are like better options out there.
Okay, so compare the two. Which one would you score better?
I don't know. I mean, I think that probably even... this one. I think that this one is a bit better.
Yeah, this one is way better. Not way better, it's better.
Don't check the score. Don't check the score, because now I'm curious. Don't do it. Don't open it. And I already brought my score down, so don't open it.
Right.
Would you remember it? Did you remember everything about this movie?
So I remembered the vast majority. What I didn't remember, and I was so surprised that I had to ask my husband, I was like, did I go to the bathroom? Was I sick? Did I go get a refill of soda? I don't do those things when I watch movies. Either I didn't understand or I completely forgot that Katya was pregnant. And I don't understand it. It's the second most impactful. For me, the most impactful is the final scene, but that's the moment where you... Anyway, It doesn't matter what you think happened versus what I think happened. I don't remember that, and it blew my mind. So either I just didn't want to remember, I didn't catch it, I don't know, but I remembered everything besides that.
Yeah. I had to say something, I'm going to be pretty honest. I didn't realize that she was pregnant until you told me.
Go back and watch it, because all the pictures...
It's pretty clear. It's like this. I'm pregnant. Like with a neon letter, like saying that. But I was so in shock about like, that's in color.
But
it makes sense that it's in color. Yeah, I made the math. Okay, 60 something. It could be in color. But it was still like when I saw it there, it was like, oh, it's in color. It's like, yeah, but they were not in a third world dictatorship in UK as we were in Spain. So they had cameras, like color cameras back then,
So if you just missed it, I would feel so much better about it. I think that I missed it the first time, and this time I called my husband and I was like, do you remember that film that I loved? Did you catch that she was pregnant? And he was like, yeah, that was like the whole turning point of the film. So go back and watch it. Tell me if I'm crazy. I don't know.
No, you may be right. You may be absolutely right. I know that besides that she's like pretty well placed in one of the sides, so you can see both of them, so it's like pretty clear how she's just looking at her. So if I would remember it, no. Sorry, I don't think that I would remember it. Honestly, it's like 45 years. I'm trying to think about like a year from now, even. I don't think that I would remember it. Honestly, I'm not trying to be an asshole.
No, it's fine. I'm just setting my calendar invite. February 18, 2022. Jose, do you remember?
I think that I'm going to start like taking notes on our spreadsheet about like if we said that we remember it, yes or no, and then just going like 50 episodes in the past about like 50 episodes ago we talked about this. Did you remember this?
I feel like we could also just go down the spreadsheet now and be like, do you remember what this is about? And I'll be like, Le Boucher? Nope, I have no idea what that was about.
I don't even remember the title of the one. No. I was thinking, it's okay, Memories of Murder, I remember what it's about. And then I saw Headhunters. The only thing that I could remember is the guy just sinking into the pit of shit.
I mean, if you were to ask me to give a plot of Celine Dion Goes Boating, I would be like, at one point there's a really long scene in a park where people sit on a bench. That's like all I remember from that movie.
But we watched that one like a long time ago. It was before we were doing the podcast. So it has been, because I remind you, we have been...
No, I forgot we didn't do a podcast episode about that.
No. That was like, I mean, I wouldn't say like a lot, but it was like just 15 movies before we actually started recording the podcast, because we still watched The Favorite. The Favorite was in the cinemas back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And we watched Pickpocket, live during wartime. That's surprising that it has been so long since we watched it, because we watched Happiness like more recently. We watched Exalter.
Oh, jeez. Don't just name the bad films I've asked you to watch.
No, we're just naming like Jessica Chastain films that you made me watch. But in any case, I don't think that I will remember it. And maybe I'm wrong, but it's like right now, I don't think that it created all the lasting impact to justify that my brain is going to be like remembering about a year from now.
That's fair. And this is exactly my type of film. Yeah. I love how it made me feel. Yeah. Which wasn't great, but I enjoyed the emotional roller coaster. I will absolutely remember this.
Yeah. Is there anything artistic about it? I already said it earlier. Is that scene with the slideshow is perfect. How well made it is.
I think for me, the pacing of the film, the playing with the idea of time, the direction, the shots, that like this director is clearly very, very talented. Yes, there's a lot that's artistic about it.
Yeah, no, certainly agree with you that this guy, and he says that it looks like he's pretty young.
So when he filmed this movie, he was 42. So he was 3 years younger than those two had been married.
Yeah, and he's, I don't know, like doing this with 42 years is good. I mean, it's a solid, like a really solid feel from my perspective, from the directing perspective, regardless of everything else. It's like it shows that he has some kind of sensibility and vision, and he's not like what is the name of the happy-go-lucky director, Mike Lee? Yeah, with Mike Lee, that it was like pretty subtle. Is there no? In this case, you could see that there is someone directing this.
Yeah, he's showcasing his talent just a little bit.
Yeah,
and he should. And let's not forget that he adapted the script from a 12-page short story to the story, which really, really worked for me.
Completely fair. Is this a timeless piece?
Yeah, completely. I mean, the way they play a little bit with them being so old, the internet is a little bit like a wild, wild west for them, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I think the fact that they don't involve much technology, it's because this is about a relationship that's been existing forever and now has something that make the people in it look back at it differently.
But the interesting thing is that thanks to technology, this would have never happened, because the first thing, as we were talking before the podcast, the first thing that you do when you meet someone online is that you stalk them through social media. So probably you would have seen like all those slideshow pictures in their Instagram, and you have said like his dead wife pregnant on Instagram.
Yeah, because Jeff would have taken a selfie with his iPhone looking down into the fissure in the iceberg that Kutch fell through. Yeah,
exactly.
The whole gone in the age of technology. It's gone.
No, what I'm saying is that probably he took those pictures before she died, like days before she died, and then he developed them. But it's like what I'm saying is that people, is that people usually take a picture and they just. I'm not talking about like I'm going to be like taking a picture of my fiancé falling off a cliff, and then uploading them. But what I'm saying is that I'm going to be like taking pictures and probably uploading them directly.
Yep, it's true.
And some people don't go back and remove information about them, about like their experiences. So I'm not saying, I think that this is timeless, but I think that some of the aspects about like that they are hidden, the past is no longer going to be applicable if we watch this like 45 years in the future.
Well, hopefully we're friends and we can revisit this in
45 years
or something.
Sure, let's just reduce it. Let's just say like 20 years.
Okay.
Would you turn into a TV show? I would say maybe, like a limited TV show of 1 day a week, like a 30-minute British TV show, limited series.
I could see that. I think it's very strong, probably stronger as a film than it would be, but I would definitely watch it. What was that, like there was a British TV show about a female doctor whose husband cheats on her and she spends like 6 episodes getting even with him.
Oh, yeah, I know. I didn't watch it, but I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
I can see it being sort of like limited miniseries, yes.
Yeah. It's like when I see this kind, and I know that is the easiest thing, but thanks to in therapy, it's like every single time that I see a movie that is like a split in days, I think it's like, this could be a TV show. It's like super easy. You're already like giving me the structure for it. It's like, and I'm going to be like, this TV show in the last 1 week. It starts on Sunday and I finish on Saturday. That's it.
They've literally written the episodes by day.
Yep. That it couldn't be easier. Do you think this movie could have been better? Do you think that it could have been
Honest
better?
to God, like I'm going to give this a really high score. I don't think that it could have been much better than what it was.
I don't think that it could have been better without changing dramatically the story. And changing dramatically the story for just fitting into what I would expect mature, grounded characters to be wouldn't have given a story. So that this is as good as it could have been.
I'll take it.
So should we score this?
Let's do it.
All right. Did you check your score for the Ice Storm?
No. So
Good.
I'm giving this film a 9 unless I gave a 9 to Ice Storm, and then I give this film a 9.25.
So I'm going to tell my score before seeing how you correct yours. My score is a 7.
That's not that big of a difference.
Well, I mean, it's 2 points from 2 to 9.
It's 2 points, but if you go through, we've disagreed more about the film.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying that this is not a bad movie. It's a bit more of I didn't connect with the characters, and the problem is like not connecting with the motivation of the characters. For me, just drags the story down, and it just pulls me out. Because it's an emotional story. If I cannot connect with them, it doesn't talk to me.
So that's fair. Do you take into account like direction?
Yeah, that's the reason why it's a 7. Otherwise, it could be like a 5.
Got it. Great. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, this is not like a like Not So Much Scandal. Well, I actually gave the same score to Not So Much Scandal to this.
You think this is as good as Notes on a Scandal?
Yes and no. I mean, No Song Scandal was super engaging, but it's like when you start thinking about it, the more that I thought about it, is actually when I was thinking, was the last time that I had a cigarette? It was when I was No Song Scandal that I was like so mind blown and moved by it. Not moved, but it's like, oh my God. And then it's like, yeah. And then when I actually just got back like 20 minutes later after smoking the cigarette, I was like, I've been fooled. This has been a scam. But he still actually dragged me, he still just lured me, with that story. On this one, I just felt like you weren't able to lure me in, but I think that there is more talent on this than in Not So Scandal because you're not being cheap.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, so as you said, your score for the Ice Storm was actually 925.
Damn it, this is a 9.5.
Gotcha. One day I would like to just go over all the Blake movies, all the Blake genre movies, and it's like just checking because most of them they're like around the 9 for you.
How they compare to your score versus how like in general are compared.
Yeah, and that actually just made me think about, okay, when I watch one of these movies, I can actually say like, this is a Blake movie. This is a movie that Blake is going to resonate completely,
Yeah, you definitely know my type.
Yeah, but if I were to ask you, what is my type of movie?
I would say Spanish melodrama.
Holy shit, man, we only watched one.
No, we watched at least the last Almodovar film, and then the pop star that like hit on her.
Well, we watched that, like Quien Te Cantará, Who Will Sing to You, but the last Almodovar movie, Pain and Glory, we didn't watch it for the cycle.
No, not Pain and Glory.
Women on the Spring. But that was like the first Almodovar movie,
Oh yeah, but you love it. Come on, you love.
I love it. I gave it an 8.5, but it's like I'm just looking at my scores and I cannot see a 100% pattern that I could say. It's like, this is what defines a movie that I'm going to love before watching it.
No, you're completely right. I couldn't name your type of film. And actually, we were talking before we started recording about like what movie we might watch next, since it's Jose's choice, and you chose like
the 3 most random movies.
Extremely random, like a quirky comedy from America. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Asian films, and I was like, yeah, I don't have that spectrum of interest. I don't. I'm glad he does. He makes me watch movies I wouldn't have watched.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you appreciate them when they're like, you can appreciate them, but it's like you don't go out of your way. It's like you know what you like, and it's like, I know this movie. I can see like 2 people. Even I can just look at the poster of 45 years. And I already can see it's like Blake is going to love this movie. I haven't read even the synopsis. It's like Blake is going to love it. Is that they are like 2 old people just looking away from each other. And one of them is on black and white, and the other one is on color. So there is some kind of difference between them. Is that Blake is going to love this.
That's my type of movie. I'm not going to apologize for it.
No one is asking you to apologize.
I'm queer, used to it.
So talking about the next time, I had to say this, I have been like just mentioning to people that I have a podcast, but it's a good thing. I don't know, because I like having a podcast, but it has like very zero investment, well, close to zero investment from our side, besides like just watching the movie, and then editing takes like 30 minutes. I like it. I think that is one of the things that keeps me sane. So when people ask me about, what are you doing for just remaining sane during this pandemic? I mentioned this, but with two purposes. The first one is just saying that, like sharing a bit more about myself and something important right now in my life. And the other part is about that triggers the conversation of, what did you guys watch? Have you watched X? So people bring up like recommendations, and sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I don't think that we're going to be watching Amelie, but thank you. No one recommended Amelie, so it's like, this is
thank God.
Like
I was like, we'll have a talk about that person after this.
This is not a jab against like someone specific, but usually they bring up like some random stuff. For example, we watched Diva. That would have never been on our radar. And you have forgotten already, and I knew that's what we are.
I don't remember anything about that.
It was like the opera singer, the black opera singer in Paris in the 80s, I think. Yeah, it's a French film. I like pretty surreal, But we have never paid attention to that. If someone had told me, it's like, oh, have you ever watched this? He said, oh, no, let's give it a try. So, recently I was having a conversation about Japanese cinema, and someone brought up Lady Snowblood as one of and it's like pretty poppy if you look at the trailer and the pictures. It's on the Criterion collection, so I give it, like to Armageddon, more or less at the same level, of trust. And it's like one of the influences, like pretty clear influences to Kill Bill. So that can be interesting.
Love Kill Bill.
We love Kill Bill, and we should actually just rewatch Kill Bill one day. Or something by Tarantino. I'm surprised that we haven't watched anything by Tarantino here.
Well, he releases like one movie every 5 years.
That's true, but he has been active for 45 years?
I just think we filled the quota of Tarantino in our 20s. We're like, let's watch Reservoir Dogs 20 times. Do we need to watch it again in our 40s?
Sure. I think that we should rewatch Reservoir Dogs one day.
Fine by me. Then we can watch our rooms.
Yeah. I think that we actually have Pulp Fiction on the list that you added.
I remember that conversation at Lone Star. You added it.
Oh, okay. Well, it said that your name. I mean, I'm fine. I think that it was like something that we discussed. Who is speaking it? Because we both like really like it and we would like to discuss it. Because I think they were talking about like scripts that they were engaging. They kept you like just stuck to the TV.
Which do you think is better, Kill Bill Volume 1 or Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction.
Well, let's watch one of them and then have a podcast.
I'm not saying that Kill Bill. I love Kill Bill too. The ball and chew. Yeah, sure, it's a bit weaker. But Pulp Fiction is incredible. It's like I rewatched it like a couple of years ago, and I was like, holy shit, this script is good.
See, and I think this is a situation where I can see that the technically better film, the more interesting film, is Pulp Fiction. But what I like more is Kill Bill. So. No,
I mean, there is no problem with that. It's that my ex love also Kill Bill. We rewatch it again, and it's like, this is an amazing experience. It's like I'm just enjoying from the first minute to the last. I cannot look away. It's like a perfect read for both of them. But personally, I like Pulp Fiction a bit more. But a conversation for another day.
Yes, it is.
So for next time, Lady Snowblood, anything else to say about 45 years?
This was a perfectly realized film, just as the New York Times said.
I love it. Was this editor pick?
Yeah, it was actually.
Of course it was. Did it have like an anatomy of a scene, like the host, the guest?
No. Just the documentary on the Criterion channel.
I'll have to check it out. All right, and to all those people, to all that group of people that hopefully they haven't recommended, they're going to be recommending me Amélie from, this day to the day that this gets published. That would be like just pretty embarrassing. Thank you so much for listening.
And keep washing your hands.
Bye.